Greetings, everyone. I want you to think of these two words: synchronicity and serendipity, because these two words have inspired this video. The reason why I'm here making this video today, because I had no intention of making any videos for this week, but sometimes Spirit would have you minister to others even when you're going through your turmoil or that difficult time in your life. You're still called to action and you're still expected to continue to do the work, and it's not about you. It's never really about you, so you can't get so cloaked in sorrow or so self-involved that you forget that the work has to go on. And a number of things occurred in the last 24 hours that you could refer to as synchronicity. These things coming up, showing themselves and making connection, one thing connecting to the other, so I can understand some things. And the whole idea of serendipity, of these good or favorable things that are coming out of it. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you would understand my relationship with my father somewhat, because you don't know everything, but somewhat. Those painful parts that I shared, and some cryptic messages that I've left over time, because I usually don't tell you I'm talking about him when I'm talking about the connection or reconnection with my father. And I learned so much. And so, in what is supposed to be this grieving process, I'm grieving for other reasons that people would not expect. So I got the message, and they came quickly. While I'm on the phone talking to somebody, the phone rings again and someone else, and the messages was coming left, right, and center about his passing. But I knew, as I shared in my last video, I saw it months ago, and saw it, the day when I was sharing that message with the other family. And confirmation came the day before, and it took me out. And now I want you to know, it's not that I covet his transcending. I don't covet his peace. The fact that he's no longer in this world suffering. He's no longer lonely. He's no longer here wishing that the time would come when that suffering would end. I can't covet that. But I am very emotional, because when Spirit comes and says, I need you to do this, it is so important for us to obey. And so for the last 3 years, when I was called to action to address situations with my father, not just making peace, because I had made peace before that, but to attend to certain needs that he had. And when I was asked, I was saying, well, how can I do this? In the last 2 years, we know how things have been. My business was closed, except for the grace, and having a loving, supportive husband who never, ever use an excuse about any situation. He's going to go out there and get his. Set that aside. I'm an independent woman. I love my own. So regardless of what my partner is doing, if I don't have my own, I'm not feeling satisfied. And I had to surrender that. I had to humble myself as a woman. And so when Spirit was asking me to do certain things, I'm like, how? How can I do that? Because I'm not going to put that burden on my partner. And then I said, I will do it if you open a way and provide the resources to do this, I will. And just like that, in obedience, Spirit opened the pathway and gave me the opportunity to do what I needed to do. But here's the thing. I did so with love in my heart, total forgiveness. Because I understand when you're sent, you must obey. I had a similar experience with resisting a certain idea in the past as it related to my partner. I wanted to go home. I wanted to be done with this place. I wanted to just go, and he was inviting me to. But Spirit came to me one day and said, you have no choice. You have to do this. And so I had to just, put my tail where it belongs and just push through the cloud, push through the darkness, push through the pain to do what I was asked to do. And when you are asked to do a particular thing, you will come upon the storm. You will come up upon the sword. But you best believe that when you are sent, the universe will part the way. And as soon as you go through, you see that part in the Bible where it talks about, Moses taking the people from Egypt and how the ocean was parted so that they can go through. And once they go through, it was closed. Listen, it's not a literal sea parted. It's the oceans in our life, the problems in our life. Once we are sent, once we are chosen to do a particular thing, no ocean will stand in your way. No mountain will be too high for you to climb. So, in looking back at all the things that I saw prior to them happening and all the instructions I got, sometimes it's just a word, just a whisper, in the wind, which always takes me out. If I'm sleeping, I jump out of my sleep. If I'm awake, I'm startled. This is why when individuals come to mock, I feel sorry for them. I'm not offended. I feel pity. Because you see, they don't know. And it's not for everybody. We're all here for different purpose. We all have different gifts. Mine is spiritual discernment and that deep connection to Africa, chosen. And oftentimes when those whispers come and I don't understand it because they come in a different language that is taken from me, but Spirit always come to explain it. I live in a world of spirits and not ashamed of them. How can you be ashamed of powerful entities that not just teach you and guide you, but bless you? I have an inside joke with my partner that if I run down the street naked and he comes after me to cover my nakedness, and I say to him, Spirit says I need to do this, then back off. And so he knows that, because my famous way of saying it, they never lie. So today I want to say thanks to Rani, to Caroline, to Claudette, because you have been used to get me out of this bed today. Because there's this heavy feeling or load that I was carrying in my spirit. And it was not just grieving the loss of a father. It was just being overwhelmed to say, how could I be so blessed that I am chosen to carry some burdens, to celebrate some victories, to understand that everything that happens has nothing to do with me, but those who send me, those who have kept me for the last 31 years in this country. And they have never, ever steered me wrong, ever. When I listened to the song that you sent me, Rani, or the songs, it's just what my spirit needed. It connected to that chakra that needed its pain to be eased. And when the confirmation came from you, Empress, in such an amazing way, whoa, did it ever ease the pain? And Claudette, while I was here, lying in bed and mulling over all kinds of things, I had a vision. And when I interpreted the vision, it meant peace, protection, love. And then there you were, sending me a beautiful note. So I'm heavy, but not for the reasons that some would think. Every time Spirit came and said, hey, look at this, this is happening, and I would reach out, that is exactly what was happening. There are times when I was told that my father was okay with people who actually live right there. And I'm saying, no, he's not okay. That's not what the Spirit said. That's not what the Spirit told me. You need to check this out. And they would check it out. And then I would get a voicemail or something shared with me to show that the spirits never lie. And I'm told one thing, and the Spirit would come and say, no, that's not the truth. And I cannot rest until I get to the bottom of the truth. I literally fought. And it was very stressful sometimes to get things done. And now, Spirit comes back to me and say, you have completed the task. You have passed the test. Do you think it's easy to feel so deeply hurt and still go through with love, setting aside any kind of ill will or pain to produce love, to share love, to tell my father, I love you, and to make sure he heard me, not just in my words, but in my action. To say I love you to somebody who could never bring himself to say I love you back. Did he actually love me back? Maybe he did and just didn't know how to say it. Maybe he didn't. Now that he's transcended, we'll know the truth. Now he can come to me and talk to me and tell me. That's not the matter right now. It is that the spirits came and kept me and showed me that everything that was done that caused me hurt and pain, all that stuff was supposed to happen. Not only for me to understand the great spirits, but for my father also to understand some things. See, I am that daughter who felt abandoned, betrayed. I felt like no one cared if I lived or died. No one really reached out to say, I understand your pain. No one understood that. I was all about my family. Love them. I'm in Jamaica every other year. Couldn't stay away from them. Couldn't make Canada my home because all my relatives were back home. And I loved my father. My father was my best friend. Understand that. When I was a little girl, he introduced me to this man and he said, anytime you want me, tell this man. And when I tell the man, he would tell my father and he would show up. And for the years before I came here, when I lived in Spanish Town, every night my father would come for me at work. I worked between 12 and, in Jamaica, what that's like, it was a restaurant and a place where they had meetings for the Kiwanis Club and the Rotary Club, and those high society people used to come there and have their meetings. A place where you'd have weddings. So it was a place that was always very busy. And so it could go into the wee hours of the morning every night. My father would show up to wait for me. My friend. That's why I was so hurt. But I couldn't forget who he was. And as hurt as I was, I couldn't stop loving him. See, if you love somebody, it doesn't matter what they do to you. It cannot cancel that love. You can go your separate ways, but that love never, ever dies. And you can never want anything evil to happen to somebody that you love or once loved. And so over the years, sometimes I withdraw, but I always went back. And all those years when I was hurting, I always had one person that I could call to say, how is he doing? And there are many years that he didn't ask for me. That was heartbreaking. Didn't ask how I was. Now, he's the one who was responsible for my husband and I being together. He introduced us and he encouraged me to be with this man. And for that, I'm so grateful. He had no negative thing to say about our union. Was my husband's very good friend. So the thing is complex. And I love that I can't deny. On his birthday, my nephew, Colin, thank you so much for that opportunity, called him because he could no longer see. So Colin dialed the phone and allowed me to have a very coherent conversation with him in October. It was his birthday and he was happy. And prior to that, In the summer, we talked about, things long gone is women. We reminisced. All the things that he had done that were not right, he paid for them. He suffered. So how could I want to see more of that? He never said, I'm sorry. I never would. Because he was a proud man. There are a lot of people who can't say, I'm sorry. You will never hear that. But that doesn't mean that they're not. The most important thing for me right now is that I listened to the instructions of my guides, because had I not, this would have been an awful situation. I had no idea that I would feel such grief. You don't know how you're going to feel when the moment comes. And life and death are spirits. And once the spirit is removed, you feel it. It's like marriage too. When you get your divorce, it's a death. And as long as they stamp that and say it's final, it's over, you feel it. And there are things you have to do to break that connection with that partner. The same thing is true. There are things you have to do to break that physical connection with that spirit or that energy that was here and still here but becomes something else. So when someone passes away, there are things that you have to do to break that, especially if there have been negativity. You have to find ways to break that so it doesn't continue, even though the person transcends. Everything is aligned from the moment the spirit came and said, this is what I need you to do, and to the point of obedience. And when the spirit saw that I was determined to do what I was instructed to do, every so often when I'm saying, how is this going to happen? Or I'm going to make this happen, spirit would come and just open that pathway and allow it to happen. I'm faced with another request, and in my physical eyes, I cannot see how that's possible. But again, if they sent me, they will make a way. I want you to be encouraged. Those of you who feel discouraged today, I want you to be encouraged to understand that your guides are here with you. They don't want you to suffer. If you're suffering, it's because out of that suffering will come wisdom, will come a power that you need to carry you on to the next test. Because this life is a series of tests. And until you pass these tests, you will always find yourself going backwards. The confirmation came, to me. And my spirit guide says, I'm pleased with you. I will bless you. I will keep you. I will protect you. Just like my family, my little family have been protected over the last couple of years. So I give thanks. Thanks to everyone who sent me your condolences. And you're supporting me in ways that I never imagined you would. I give thanks. And I'm encouraging everyone who's going through something. If you lost a loved one, or anything that you've lost that is causing you pain, just understand that it's a process. Allow it to move organically in or through your life. And trust the Most High. Trust the universe. For those of you who don't like that word, trust the universe, and all will be okay. Stay blessed.